Meanwhile, the Mount Vernon Bulldogs buried Cheney 100-64. Mark Hendrickson's 27 paced Mount Vernon, sending them into tonight's championship rematch. And back at the Tacoma Dome, getting ready for the boys' AA finals of the WIAA 1991 tournament. The rematch, the second-ranked Battleground Tigers take on the fourth-ranked Mount Vernon Bulldogs. Todd Pickett along with Dave Hartzman once again. A lot of interesting things going into this game. The rematch factor, Battleground looking to become the first team to win back-to-back titles since East Bremerton did it in 73-74. And now that the girls have won, Battleground trying to become the first school ever to sweep both titles on a single night.
A lot of incentives, but then I look at Mount Vernon. They were here last year. There is that big revenge factor. In fact, I think they're a better basketball team this year than they were last year, although they don't have Tim Caviezel, of course, he's at the University of Washington. But they've got some people that can play the game, scored 100 points last night in the semifinal.
Interesting path for these two teams. Battleground did not win the AA part of the Greater St. Helens League outright. They lost twice within their league to Prairie. And Mount Vernon finished second to Seaholm. In fact, lost 3 times to Seaholm, including the district playoffs. Seaholm, of course, bumped off last night by Battleground, so neither team stellar coming in, but they make the final again.
Right, you know, and all that stuff is interesting, but, you know, the fact that both teams are here, and I don't think they're going to come out and do anything that they haven't done to get them there. And I think maybe you're going to see a little more zone from Mount Vernon than they played during the regular season, and yet they can do an awful lot of things in the offensive end of the floor.
Last year it was a big man for Battleground, Mike Brotherton, who led them to the state championship game. A big man who needs to have a big night if the Tigers are to repeat is Scott Tharp at 6'9".
Yeah, Scott Tharp last evening did not have a good night, although he's had a good tournament. He didn't score, and I think he only had a couple of rebounds, but he's got to establish himself early inside. Then the man from the outside, Josh Barron, he's the one who makes him go. He can not only shoot the three-pointer, but he can get the ball to other people in the scoring areas.
The Mount Vernon, you mentioned Caviezel, now at the University of Washington. They have several talented players as well, starting out with a young man you like a lot, Mr. Cornelius.
Well, Bill Cornelius, he's a kid that can do a lot of things. He can score inside, but he can also go outside and shoot the three-point. I mean, he's one of those guys kind of like Johnny Havlicek. What do you need, coach? I'll get the job done for you. But the main man is Mark Hendrickson. You know, he's supposedly one of the top baseball prospects in the country. Again, only a junior, as they both are. But one thing that I think is interesting, not only can he score, he's left-handed. I think that presents problems for Battleground, especially if you're not used to playing against left-handed people.
You saw the 68 points in the first 3 games. That's nothing new. He's averaging 23 points a game for the season. The rematch is set. Battleground against Mount Vernon. 5 losses between the two teams this season. We'll be back to meet the starters right after this. Let's take a look at how the teams got here. First for the Battleground Tigers. Their draw, they beat Rainier Beach in the first round, then Mount Lake Terrace, and then knocked off number 1 Seaholm in the semifinals. Meanwhile, for Mount Vernon, a little bit easier draw for them, some folks felt. They beat Lakeside, Capital, and Cheney after Cheney upset Enumclaw, the 6th-ranked team in the state, and Mount Vernon moving to the championship game again. A look at the scores for the 3 games from the tournament. Battleground beating 9th-ranked Rainier Beach on Wednesday, then Mount Lake Terrace and top-ranked Seaholm last night in a real close contest.
In a great game, and the ball for Seaholm went clear down in and came back out. You see Mount Vernon scores there. You know, score 100 points, as I mentioned earlier, in a semifinal game is unheard of in the state tournament. They've got a lot of firepower. I think it's going to be a great matchup.
They've won their 3 games by an average of 32 points a game. Lakeside and Cheney were unranked, and Capital ranked 10th in the final state poll. So Mount Vernon moving through the bracket, as we mentioned. There's 3 losses this year, all 3 coming to Seaholm. 2 in league, 1 in the district playoffs. But they make it to the championship game, as does Battleground. Here in his 31st year as the voice of the boys championship is Dick Webster.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, let's meet your starting lineup for this championship contest. Starting at a forward for Battleground, a 6'5 senior, number 40, Dan Stewart. And for Mount Vernon, a 6'1 junior, number 24, Bill Cornelius. At a forward for Battleground, a 6'9 junior, number 12, Scott Tharp. And for Mount Vernon, a 6'2 junior, number 25, Troy Holmes. At center for Battleground, a 6'4 junior, number 32, Steve Warner. And at a full position for number 30, Mark Hendrickson. At a guard, 6'1 junior, number 14, Josh Barron. And at a post transition for Mount Vernon, 6'9" senior, for 35, Wolberg. The other guard for Battleground, a 5'10" junior, number 22, Troy Stigman. And for Mount Vernon, a 5'8" junior, number 4, Dave. Head Mr. Blue, assisted by Ron Rockesee and Paul Walters. And for Mount Vernon, head Frazier, assisted by Scott Stomer, Robert Hancock, and Doug Maynard.
Last year it was 95-63. Dave, that's got to be a bit of a motivator for the Bulldogs coming in.
Yeah, and I think they played with a mission. You know, I was talking to somebody the other day here at the tournament, and they said, you know, when you have good programs like these two schools have, they don't just expect to get to the tournament. They expect to get there and win the tournament. You know, and what happens when you have a lot of teams that get there for the first time, they're just happy to be there. You know, when you get to a tournament, the fact that you're there is great, but then you have to reset your goal and say, hey, now that we're here, now we've got to go out and win the darn thing.
Okay, size this one up quickly. What needs to work for these teams to have a good night?
Well, I'll tell you one thing. Mount Vernon wants to get the ball up and down the floor, so it's going to be a transition game against a half-court game, in my opinion. But I think the big key is Scott Tharp, because he did not have a good game last night, and that's got to be weighing in his mind.
Troy Holmes starting out against the man-for-man, picked up by Behrens. Behrens, a good defender, was real key last year in the championship game for him, and they foul underneath early. Going to go against Behrens, his first personal.
Did a nice job here. You know, both these teams are very fundamentally sound, but it was a very good head fake right there by Troy Holmes. And, you know, he's a real strong inside player. Not a great outside player, but very strong inside player. And, again, he's a junior.
Holmes led the Bulldogs with 20 points in their opening round win against Lakeside.
Yeah, and they start 4 juniors and a senior in Matt Wolberg at 6'9". But I'll tell you what impressed me last night was they had 44 points, I believe it was, off the bench. 17 by Ryan Keys, who's a sophomore, with 5 for 6 in three-point range. I mean, and he is a good-looking shooter.
Baseline jumper for Stewart won't go. Underneath, and a foul. After they pull down the rebound, Steve Warner will go to the free throw line for the Tigers. That one's going to go against Cornelius.
This is what happens a lot of time in the zone. In the zone, you don't have people, as you see the foul over the back by Cornelius. You don't have people to cut out. You've got areas, but what you've got to do is you really got to steal off the weak side board, and Mount Vernon didn't do a good job that time.
Warner, one of 6 seniors on this Battleground team, averages a little over 4 points a game.
Butch Blue has been there a long time, as Mac Frazier has been at Mount Vernon. But Butch Blue, they really have a solid basketball program, and that's what you got to develop from the ground up.
Got a lot of support, too. I think somebody could cruise through northern Clark County tonight and find a lot of vacated buildings. Big turnout for the Battleground fans, as for the Mount Vernon fans here at the tournament. Wolberg can't hit. Weak side rebound for Cornelius.
Well, what opened that up for Cornelius is Battleground does such a good job of coming over from the weak side and supporting and helping on the post defense. It allowed the weak side board to be open. Mac Frazier told me, he said, we're having to play more zone than we like in the tournament here, as you see Tharp from outside, and there's Henderson with the ball. This Dave Garcia does a great job of running the show for Mount Vernon. I like the way he played in the semifinal.
Real unselfish floor general, too, only averages 3 points a game.
You know, people may say, well, he doesn't distribute a lot, but when you've got a lot of people that can score, you don't have to have that out of your point guard.
Got to be a good distributor, and that's exactly what he is. Holmes waits, tries to let Hendrickson establish position. And he'll draw the foul.
And if you notice that time, as soon as the ball went into Mark Hendrickson, as he puts the ball on the floor here, you see he's attacked from all sides. Especially Stigman. Stigman did a heck of a job. What you've got to do, I think, is if you're going to help from the top down like Stigman did, you've got to take, as soon as the ball goes to the wing, you've got to take an extra step down so that when the ball does go to the post, that you can attack it immediately. If you're not in position to help out, then there's no way you can do it.
Dan Stewart drew the foul, his first personal.
I'll tell you what, he's got a great release, Henderson. The guy's a major league prospect as a pitcher, and he's a major college prospect as a basketball player.
Got the bounce. 6-2 Mount Vernon. Minute and a half into the first quarter.
See Mount Vernon now back into a 1-2-2 zone.
I think we can watch for him to extend that and try to trap in the corners a little bit as we go along. Stigman.
You can't let him stand and shoot. They did that last night, and he knocked him down.
They put that one up on the scoreboard. It was 3 there. They changed it to 2. Garcia can't hit. Tharp with it. That one checked along the baseline. Barron's got a check. Can't tell you who because the coach is standing in front of us, but Stewart follows, and we're tied at 6.
Well, that time the Bulldog guards were trying to run out of there before they had the basketball, and Mac Frazier wasn't real pleased with that. He's got to stay in there and help rebound. We can't go any place until we have the basketball. Here you see the last basket. The ball came off the pack right there, and Dan Stewart picks the thing up and knocks it in. You know, Battleground's not small, Todd. You know, Stewart 6'5", and Warner 6'4", but he's 205 pounds, and Tharp 6'9".
Tharp was called for the foul, his first personal. 3 quick team fouls here on Battleground.
Yeah, and you see them in the zone this possession.
Now a little flat for Cornelius. Stigman against Garcia. Good dish that time, but the missed layup by Barons followed up.
Stigman did a great job with what we call a leg switch, putting the ball from his right hand between his legs to his left and then dishing the ball off.
Really created the seam for Barons to get open, too. 8-6 Mount Vernon. Good post position for Hendrickson, but he stepped on the baseline. Now they'll call a walk. Substitutes coming in both ways. Chad Wires coming in for Mount Vernon. And for Battleground, Dewan Miller, who's been a real key sixth man the last couple years for the Tigers.
Yeah, as we see the other end, here's the pass right here. And, you know, Troy Holmes gets back. As you see the shot missed right there, but then he kind of relaxes and allows the second putback. Yeah, Dewan Miller is a great athlete, number 34. Most people know Battleground, know that he doesn't have a left arm below the elbow, and yet he's going to Boise State in a full football scholarship. Brother plays basketball at Weber State, freshman.
Long one outside for Wires, won't go, and Miller tried to pull it down, got loose, missed by Hendrickson.
Hendrickson got caught too far under that time.
That one tipped away, not a very good entry pass at all, and the Tigers finally come up with it. Barons corralling it.
Yeah, Wohlberg made a very poor pass. He did what we call pass the pass. He just picked it up and threw it all in one motion.
Miller. Barons, good entry pass to Rob Fromm in. And the basket for foul as Tharp follows up. Ties this one.
And I'm not so sure that Mount Vernon isn't going to have to go to a man-to-man because they're getting beat on the boards because they're trying to help so much. You see the ball right there. See, they're not doing a good job adjusting. The ball goes inside to Fromm. Nice head and shoulder fake, step through, and it alleviates because of the pressure. They have to come over from the weak side to help when nobody covers the weak side board for Mount Vernon.
Hendrickson drew the foul, and he really had to come over because of that good head fake. Miller and Fromm knock it away from one another, or the Tigers would have a chance to follow up. They lead at 10-6. Right now, the Bulldogs seem a little bit confused offensively.
Well, see what happens now. The Tigers have come down and gone back into their man-to-man defense. And Coach Bush Blue told me before the game, he says, Ray, we're going to do some things. We're going to adjust to what they're doing. We're going to try to confuse them a little.
Working this possession right now as the Bulldogs finally reset. Garcia. There's his 3 points for the game.
And that looked much better than, and he comes up with a steal right there. And the foul on Stigman. Well, I was just going to say, that ball looked good coming out of Garcia's hand that time, and the previous shot looked terrible. So, I mean, here he got his feet set, took the ball up, nice release, knocks it down, and then he causes a turnover. You see right here, causes a turnover, and then they call the foul, which, you know, I'm not officiating.
Next foul will put Mount Vernon in the bonus the rest of the way, and there is the foul as the basket was good for Cornelius. We'll have to wait and see whether that was a 3 or not.
And there again, not knowing where the man was, but Cornelius can knock down that three-pointer, although the shot before it was very flat. But he's a good-looking ball player. You know, he's the kind of guy who can shoot it. He's also a slasher. He gets to the seams really quickly.
The foul on DeJuan Miller, that's the 5th, so Mount Vernon will be in the bonus for the remainder of the first half. And the 4-point play for Cornelius pushes Mount Vernon into a 3-point lead. Tharp all alone. Fromm tried to chase that one down, knocked it out of bounds.
There again, though, the Tigers had a chance for the offensive rebound because Mount Vernon is not doing a good job of going to the basketball. You got to do one or two things. If you don't cut anybody out, then you got to go to the ball.
Junior Trevor Rose will check in for the Tigers, replacing Troy Stigman. Rose at 5'11", averages just under 4 points a game.
Both these teams are deep. I mean, they can go 10 people deep.
Real battle between Tharp and Hendrickson in the post. And that one's going to go against Battleground as Fromm collides with Wahlberg.
And that time Wahlberg did what we call flash post. He came from the low block on the right side to the high post on the left side. And that's called a flash post, and most people work on that drill. Bobby Knight's teams work on that drill every day. Deny the flash post.
That one looked like a 50-50 ball to me.
Well, the one thing that I would contend is if a 6'9" guy goes from low to high to catch the ball, what I call play underneath him. Make him catch the ball going away from the basket. He's going away from it. And if he does catch it, then defend him. Don't try to go for the steal.
Wahlberg hits one for 2, and Fromm pulls it down. Mount Vernon leading it by 4. 2:20 to play in the first quarter. Real different from the first quarter of last year's finale. Miller. Hendrickson pulls it down.
Good defensive transition right there by Battleground. You get back.
Wires trying to find Hendrickson inside. And the steal by Rose. Behrens for Miller and misled him.
The thing in that situation, and I've got to remember these are high school players, but what you got to do is unless you can make the two-handed pass to them, just make sure you got the basketball. You got possession of the ball, you got an opportunity to score that way.
Quick look at Butch Blue on the Battleground bench. Wahlberg got himself hung up a little bit deep again.
Yeah, he did. It looked like he got a little help from the back that time.
Yeah. Was a bit off balance as he went up. Minute 15 to play in the first quarter. Garcia flying out. Good play by Hendrickson. Garcia, great pass. Cornelius couldn't get it to drop, and then the rebound foul underneath.
That's as good a fundamental basketball play as you're going to see that Dave Garcia made an over-the-top pass. But Hendrickson did a great job of knocking the ball loose. Or the over-the-top pass right there, and there's Garcia knowing that somebody's coming from behind. But
That's
the over-the-top pass was a great pass to begin with.
But he took a look. It was not a flamboyant pass. As you said, good fundamentals. The foul went against Cornelius, his second.
Be interesting to see what happens now with Keys in the ball game. If they can free Keys up for the wide-open three-pointer, you're going to see a sophomore that can really shoot the basketball.
Third turnover against Battleground. Steve Bertelson will also check in for Mount Vernon, along with Keys. And for Battleground, Josh Behrens back in.
You know, Mount Vernon with Wahlberg, the only real senior, although there's 2 seniors, the only real senior that plays for Mount Vernon. And, you know, they're going to be awfully tough again next year, as will Battleground.
You saw Dan Stewart back into the Battleground lineup there. And a look at the Tiger bench. They trail it by 4 in the final minute of the first period. This is Keys. Dave mentioned the outside shooter. Hendrickson up high.
What they're trying to, excuse me, Todd, what they're trying to do is spread the floor and maybe get an easy backdoor layup. You know, that's what they're looking for. If they don't, then they're going to work the ball down and get a good shot. You know, playing for 1 shot.
17 on the clock now, and they will just hold it for 1. Keys with 10. And a lucky rebound, really, going to Garcia that time.
And not Keys' shot. He's a standing jump shooter, not off the move.
Behrens at the buzzer for 3. So Josh Behrens provides a little bit of a spark for the Tigers as the first quarter comes to a close. Cuts their deficit in half with that 3-pointer and cuts it at 16-13 at the end of 1 as we take another look at Behrens' shot, which beat the buzzer.
Yeah, as you see, here's the penetration by Keys right now. Not a good shot. There the other, Stigman just misplayed the rebound, allows the basket. And then at the other end, here's Behrens, pulls up, knows the time, pulls up, nice looking shot, good release, nothing but the bottom of the net.
At the buzzer, it's 16-13, Mount Vernon leading at the end of 1. The rebounds so far, Dave, at 9 apiece.
Well, I'll tell you, as you see Mount Vernon come out and play in the 1-2-2 zone, but that 3-pointer was a big shot because if they'd have gone into the end of the first quarter 6 down rather than 3, that's a pretty big hole.
Well, they're having to reset a little bit. Had to check over to Butch Blue to see what he wanted to do. Trying to find some holes in this offense. Good entry pass right there to Stewart. That was a difficult off-balance shot for Stewart, but Battleground will get it back off the hands of Keys.
Battleground doing a great job, I've said a couple times, of getting to the offensive glass because of the zone, finding the seam. You know, they're tough, they're physical, they get their hands on a lot of balls.
Behrens in traffic, and he'll draw the foul from Keys reaching him. First personal on the sophomore.
Behrens does a great job of, he's really a slasher. He can shoot the 3, but he can get in and seam at his size at 6'1", and for 175 pounds, very strong player, and he can get in there and now he can go ahead and try to create for himself or dish.
Steve Warner back in for the Tigers, replacing DeJuan Miller. Tharp, he's really had that area open tonight, Dave.
He has, and see, you know what created that is that Stigman hit his first 3-pointer. As you see Keys throwing the ball away, it's always a passer's responsibility. You never throw the ball at the back of somebody. I was going to say, Stigman hit his first 3, so you got to get up on him, and he pump faked the ball and allowed the passing lane open to Tharp at the high post.
Tharp working the outside at 6'9", letting the smaller guys post. Behrens can't hit. And a rebound foul underneath going against Wahlberg as he was battling with Warner for the rebound. First foul against Wahlberg, and now Battleground on the bonus.
And here you see the shot, and the ball's going to be short. It's going to come out long. And I'm going to tell you why the official called that is because he went one-handed to the board. Now, if he'd have gone with 2 hands, he'd have gone a 2-hand. See, one-handed that way, although there's minimal contact. But if you go 2 hands and bring the ball back over the top, very seldom do you get called. That may be picky, but that's generally the way they look at things.
Warner 3 for 3 at the stripe in the first half. He'll have a chance to put the Tigers back out in front. Got the roll and a 1-point lead for Battleground. Hendrickson breaking the pressure. Well, they've scouted Keys well. He hasn't had an area to shoot at all so far here.
No, they better not let him have an opening.
Stigman plays great defense with his feet right there against Garcia. Good backdoor cut for Keys. And a late whistle there on the block on Steve Warner.
And you see Mac Frazier, because Mount Vernon's bench is right in front of him, he's telling Mark, get inside. He's talking to Mark Hendrickson, and he needs to get inside. You see right here, there's the pass right there to Keys. He kind of fumbles the ball, but he goes up with it, and there's a foul. And I think there again, the foul is called because the hand comes down, whether it gets the ball or not. The hand came down, that's why the foul was called. This kid's got what I call great hand. He gets his hand through the ball very well. He's got real good follow through. Then he makes me look bad by missing.
Welcome to the Prime Sports Northwest, James. Tharp with the 5'8" Garcia hounding him.
Matt Wahlberg, when Tharp gets the ball that high, Wahlberg has got to come out and challenge him in the high post, especially when he looks at the basket with the shot.
Hendrickson, Tharp got a piece of that, and then takes it away from his own teammate to hang on to it.
I was just going to say that Wahlberg's got to be a little more aggressive, a little more active in the zone.
Wahlberg picking that one off as an errant pass by Stigman. Now Garcia waits for the big guys to come down as well. Hendrickson draws the foul. I'm not sure if that's the way Mac Frazier wanted him to get inside, though, by putting the ball to the floor.
Well, did a nice job. You know, he had such a great game last night in the semifinals. He was 10 for 11 from the floor. He was 7 for 10 from the free throw line, 27 points, and he had 10 rebounds, 3 offensive, 7 defensive. He can create so much because he can shoot the standing jump shot, and he can put the ball on the floor for a guy 6'8". Got a good head and shoulder fake, step through. You know, he's got the whole package. All he needs maybe is strength to be, you know, one of the top prospects in the coast next year.
Tharp drew the foul his second. You saw Rob Fromm back in the lineup. And DeJuan Miller also back in for Battleground.
The thing I like about Mark Hendrickson, too, is probably what really helps him as a pitcher. He's got real good legs. He's got good, and when you got good legs, you're going to get upper body strength. You don't need a lot of weight, but just strength.
4 for 4 at the line for Hendrickson. He's also tough to shoot over there in the corner. Behrens right through the hands of Warner, but it's followed up by Fromm.
Yeah, Mount Vernon not doing a good job of not only they're allowing the penetration, but they're not doing a good job of going back and helping inside.
Hendrickson, no call, tough angle for him. Miller can't hang on. Stigman saves it. Mount Vernon fans thought he went out of bounds. Behrens in traffic, tough ball away.
I'll tell you, Battleground's getting the ball up the floor. They're looking ahead. But see, what Mark Hendrickson's got to understand is that when he gets the ball, the whole student body, I mean, people are going to come out of the crowd to try to check him. So he's got to be ready, as soon as he catches the ball, not put it in the floor, but dish the ball back out either diagonally or to somebody on his side of the floor for the open shot.
Stigman draws the foul. That's his second personal. Trevor Rose and Scott Tharp will check back in for Battleground. And you see Mac Frazier, the Mount Vernon coach, talking with Ryan Keys. As Garcia goes to the line. Butch Blue, the Battleground head coach.
You know, Dave Garcia is the kind of kid that you like running your ball club. You know, and I don't know that as a junior at his size that he'll go on to play much after high school, but I'll tell you what, he's a very fine high school basketball player. You can win a lot of games with guys like Dave Garcia running your club. And he causes a turnover.
Keys lays it in. Ryan with 3. And the lead up to 4. Nearing the midway part of the second quarter.
The Mount Vernon inside people, I'm talking about Wahlberg and Henderson, have got to start playing more with their hands up. They're playing with their hands down most of the time. In the zone, see, a zone is different than man-to-man, that you play mostly from the waist up with your hands up. Man-to-man, you get to get down more in a crouch.
Fromm Tharp with the follow.
It looked like he drew the foul, but it wasn't called. It's tough to see when the bench, when a 6'3" kid jumps up in front of you.
Fromm's been really lucky. He puts the ball down there that it's not been slapped away by somebody. And Hendrickson stepped on the baseline.
And there's another example of when it goes into him, the Tigers do a great job of going back and doubling the ball. He's got to kick the ball back out.
Stigman back in for Battleground. They'll try to tie it or take the lead with a 3 this time down. Tharp got checked by somebody. Whether it's Garcia on the outside, that's who they'll call it on. That's his first person.
There again, when Dave Garcia, when he goes back, see, when the ball goes in, then he's got to go back right now and attack the ball right now. And it's got to be to attack the ball. You can't go in there and hack across somebody's arm. Scott Tharp, good-looking free throw shooter.
He's 1 for 2 here in the first half. Had games of 16 and 14 before being held scoreless in the semis. Keys, first chance of the three-pointer, won't go. Battleground will let it go out of bounds. You know, there's a real battle going on in the pivot right now. Hendrickson and Tharp are really hand-checking one another back and forth.
They really are. And that time Keys is a little over-anxious. You know, you got to take your shot within the course of the offense. The one thing about you have to understand in high school, this may sound pretty stupid or pretty simple, but it's tough for the other team to score when you have the basketball because there's no shot clock. So you don't need to shoot the ball. You're not forced to shoot the ball. Nice job. Nice flash by Fromm across the post, and they're doing a good job of flashing and getting the people the ball where they can score.
And the reason they're doing that, Dave, is because Wahlberg's so concerned with Tharp across the middle that he's playing him nearly man-for-man right now. 2-point lead for the Tigers, 2.5 minutes to play here in the first half. Hendrickson, great catch, can't get it to drop, but draws the foul from Fromm.
But again, every time he touches the ball, there's 1 or 2 people around him.
Second foul against Fromm.
Here you see at the other end, here's the pump fake. Looking inside, and because they freeze the defense inside, Rose is able to see Fromm flashing across the seam. Hits him for the open shot. Nice job by Trevor Rose that time of pump faking. See his gaze by he's looking into the post, pump faking into the post, made the defense collapse inside to help and open up the middle for Fromm.
Barron's back in for Battleground. If we get another chance to look at that one, you can see how Wahlberg was fronting Tharp and taking himself out of the zone that time, too. Stigman pulls it down. First miss of the game for Hendrickson. All 5 of his points at the stripe, and Garcia takes that one away from Barron's. Barron's a little too casual that time.
Nice job by David Garcia not to force the issue there.
They're going to call Hendrickson for pushing off, trying to establish position against Tharp.
Well, you know, it's not a bad play, and I think it's a pretty darn good call because what he was trying to do is he's trying to play the post and just cut his man out. But I think what he was called for is he didn't allow the defensive man to get around him. He's as entitled to the position or the area as the offensive man. Here you see right here. Well, he's got him hooked with his hand right there. That's what he called. That's what he called right there. He had him hooked with his hand, so he wouldn't allow him.
Back to live action. Tharp missed the front end of the 1-and-1, so the Bulldogs escaped fairly unscathed from that one. Hendrickson's foul was his second personal, and we've got a foul away from the ball as Fromm ran over Wahlberg. For Fromm, his third personal.
You know, in my opinion, for a tournament game, a tournament championship game with so much riding on it, so much for both teams, Battleground wanting to win for the men and the boys as well as the girls. Mount Vernon wanted to come in and say, hey, this is a new year. We're going to show you that we can get the job done. This has really been a very well played first half of basketball.
Fromm on the bench with his 3 fouls. Daryl Furcaron, 6'6" junior, in replacing him. Hendrickson pulled down that rebound. Troy Holmes for 3.
big three-pointer. They needed it. They were not shooting the ball well, the Bulldogs, and they needed that three-pointer.
Behrens, who hasn't really taken a shot in the second quarter. Miller, offensive foul on DeJuan Miller.
And I was just going to say that I really thought that Battleground was doing a good job of attacking the zone from the baseline, running shooters off screens. As you see the ball reversed right there. Here's Miller. Oh, kind of ducked his shoulder. Wahlberg did a nice job of getting position and then maybe giving a pretty good Hollywood there.
Hendrickson, Stigman, will call him for the foul.
One thing about Hendrickson, he's got great hands too. The ball was fumbled over there, but then he picked it up with two hands. I was going to say on the other end, Battleground's really done a nice job of attacking the zone by both people flashing through penetration and also people moving along the baseline.
Foul on Stigman is his third as well. Hendrickson back at the line again.
The ball comes out of his hands so nicely that I always wonder why guys that are good shooters miss free throws.
Three-point attempt for Stigman from way outside. Tapped free by the Tigers. Foul's going against Wahlberg, his second.
And here you see the ball go inside, and there's the foul right there because he's got his right hand down over the ball. If Wahlberg had just stood there with his hands straight up in the air and seen, that's something that even college people don't learn very well because you want to do your job. But if you get beat in the post, the biggest thing you can do is play 6'9", make him shoot the ball over you, and then do the job of cutting your man out and making sure he doesn't get to the board.
Ryan Keys back in for Mount Vernon, replacing Chad Wires. Daryl Furkeron at the line, attempting his second free throw.
It's nice to have the luxury of a Furkeron to come off the bench. Only a junior again. 6'6", 195 pounds, very, very strong.
Barely made contact with the second one, however, and we'll see if the Bulldogs will hold for one or not with 45 seconds on the clock. Looks like they've gone back to the spread again, Dave.
Yeah, they're going to go for one. If they can get an easy backdoor layup, they'll take it.
We'll keep you posted on the time as we reach 30 seconds. Tigers try to fly out a little bit, force it. Keys will wait for someone to come to him with 20 seconds.
One thing Mount Vernon does a real good job of, Todd, is getting the ball in that kid's hands right there, Dave Garcia, because he's the one who can distribute it.
10 seconds now, the whole bench counting. Holmes gets around his man, but gets it to Hendrickson. 3 seconds on the clock. Can he do it again? Here goes Behrens. Not this time. Just missed the back rim, or he would have had back-to-back buzzer beaters and given the Tigers a lead. However, at halftime, it's Mount Vernon out in front of Battleground. 2 close quarters of play so far. See the Bulldogs head into the showers with a 2-point lead at the end of the first half of play. We'll be back to take a look at some of the first half highlights, talk about the opening 2 quarters of play as Mount Vernon leads Battleground, the AA Championship Boys game on Prime Sports Northwest.
Go to him. Battleground sure as heck knows it because they got 2 and 3 people there.
Well, in fact, all his points have come on free throws, too.
Right. On the other side of the coin, I think that Battleground's doing a great job of attacking the zone of Mount Vernon. I think they've got to do a better job, possibly, of maybe loosening up in terms of hitting a couple three-pointers, although, you know, they had a big three-pointer at the end of the first quarter. If their outside shot will start to fall, they're going to do a better job of loosening up and getting the ball along the baseline, and they've done a good job of attacking the zone from there.
Well, we're here. Have a minute. Let's talk a little bit about this tournament because things are going to change for the AA tournament next year in terms of some of the schools eligible, and you, along with a lot of other people, don't think that it's a change for the better.
Well, I really don't. When you've got the 5 schools in Seattle Metro that are going to Garfield Bulldogs, who are playing for the AAA championship tonight, they're going to drop down and be a AA school. And I think a lot of teams are going to look at that and say, Garfield's AA? You know, you've got the Class B classification, which is 100 and less. You've got Class A, which is 100 to 400. Then now the AA is 401 to 999, essentially. And then anything over 1,000 is AAA. I would propose that what you could do is up it 100 to 500 to 9 and drop it down 100 to 9, so it'd be between 500 and 900, so that you have the schools such as a Battleground, which is a community, such as a Clarkston, which is a community, and not a metro school playing in AA. You can play up if you have less than 1,000.
For example, Mercer Island being one of the schools electing to.
Or and Gonzaga Prep is another great example in Spokane, but you cannot play down a level. So I'm just talking about parity and the opportunity for schools with the smaller communities. I watched a lot of schools this year, Gig Harbor Peninsula, Enumclaw. They have great community backing. I think you lose that when you bring the metro schools in.
Interesting to see what will happen in the AA, not only the basketball, but the football as well in 1991's fall. But for right now, it's Mount Vernon and Battleground we need to concentrate on. We'll be back to talk more about their showdown when we return to the Tacoma Dome. At halftime, Mount Vernon leads it by 2 on Prime Sports Northwest. Mount Vernon on top of Battleground. Mount Vernon leading it by 3 at the end of one quarter of play, 16-13. A closely fought contest. And again, waiting for someone to jump up, take advantage of opportunities.
Well, as we saw in the girls' game, I think Mark Hendrickson's got to come to the forefront. He's got to score some goals. He's got to score some goals early if Mount Vernon is to establish themselves. It's going to be another one of those where a team has to make a run. Basketball's a game of spurts, as we know, but it could also be decided by the free throw line.
Mount Vernon's been pesky on defense. One of the keys for them early was Dave Garcia, who's forced a lot of steals.
Yeah, nice job. Here's Dave Garcia right here, going for the steal, maybe with the wrong hand, but the inside hand knocks it loose. And then I think this is the time where he took the ball down the floor, and he did a good job of holding up till his teammates got back down there.
And Garcia, who only averages 3 points a game, had 7 in the first half, so an unexpected bonus. Meanwhile, here's a look at Troy Holmes for 3.
Yeah, Troy Holmes, not really known as an outside shooter, but he says, heck, they're going to give it to you. I want to step up and shoot it. And it was a bad pass, and he made something really good out of it because he got the ball, got it ready, and got it up into a shot.
Scott Tharp, a big key for Battleground in the second quarter, as he had 6 points. He leads the Tigers with 8 overall.
So he's established himself. Didn't score last night. Here he gets the offensive rebound. Good head and shoulder fake, goes up, draws a foul. And see, because he's got enough strength at 6'9", 215 pounds, he can score inside like that.
And again, a low shooting percentage for the first half. And interesting, the girls shot better free throws midway through than the boys did so far tonight. They really see the 3 points really not a fact too much. Mount Vernon, though, doing well when they've shot from the outside.
Yeah, and the free throw line there, 17 attempts to 9. That is a big key right there, because if they can continue to go to the free throw line like that, I think that's going to be a big plus for Mount Vernon. I think Battleground has got to do a little better job, as I said, of penetration to try to draw a foul or two and get to that line and get into the bonus.
Here's a real interesting note just from looking at those numbers. Mount Vernon 3 of 4 from three-point range. That means they're 3 for 14 on the rest of their field goal attempts.
Yeah, and it's funny how that works. I've seen some cases where teams go 3 for 20 from three-point range, and you take away the three-pointers, they're shooting about 75%. So who knows?
27-25 our score. Mount Vernon on top of Battleground at the half of this 1991 AA Boys Championship game. To start the third quarter after this timeout on Prime Sports Northwest. Bulldogs leading the Tigers by 2. We'll take a look once again at some of the field goal numbers for you there. And that says Clarkston. We'll have to apologize for that. Battleground 6 for 18.
Interesting to note, you know, as we said earlier, Mark Hendrickson 0 for 4, Matt Wohlberg 0 for 2. So, you know, the two big guys from Mount Vernon are 0 for 6, although Mark Hendrickson is 5 for 7, with 5 rebounds. Scott Tharp, 5 rebounds and 8 points. Last night, 2 rebounds in the semifinals and no points.
Let's give you the field goal numbers. It should be Mount Vernon 6 for 18 and Battleground 9 for 26. Hendrickson's first field goal of the night.
And that's a pretty high percentage shot.
has.
See, but what happened is Battleground came out in a man-to-man that time, and they went to a special play. Mount Vernon did to try to get him a good shot.
Bulldogs collapsing well in the post that time. Behrens, nice shot off the glass. I thought he was going to be a little bit off balance. He made it look easy.
What you got to do with Behrens, like any other guard, when he's got the ball, you got to stay on him and make him pick the ball up and pass it off. He's a scorer. He's a slasher.
Behrens has 7. He averaged over 17 a game during the regular season. Nobody bothers to pick up Hendrickson there in the pressure, so he'll be able to bring it down the floor anytime if they need help.
You know, there's a lot of talk that maybe AA players aren't good enough to play at major college level. All you got to do is look at Tim Treviso, who started at the end of the year for the Huskies. You look at Jason Bond, who plays for Lakeside, who's here, signed with the Huskies.
Nice pass by Behrens to Steve Warner.
Real nice pass.
Brotherton, the MVP last year, went to San Jose State.
Right.
Holmes, Hendrickson, off the legs of Steve Warner. It'll belong to Mount Vernon.
Lewis Lofton from Centralia going to Weber State. And here's the pass. Off the dribble. Nice pass. One-handed pass over the top right there.
As we return back to live action, Hendrickson missed one jumper, and then there was a foul underneath. And the foul goes against Steve Warner, his second personal, first team foul against Battleground.
You look at Mark Hendrickson's eyes. He's got those competitor eyes. You know, he's got really intense eyes.
Cornelius. Hendrickson, good grab again. There's those hands you talked about, Dave. Good check. There's 3 defenders taking away Wahlberg's shot, but then the ball went off the feet of Stigman.
Here's the pass inside right there. Wahlberg needs to go, and good help from the weak side. I didn't see who that was.
Looked like
I think
Stigman.
It was Stigman or Stewart came in from the weak side to help.
Hendrickson scoops that one up.
There's Cornelius. See, the thing I didn't like that time is Bill Cornelius got the ball in the corner and he didn't look at the basket. You've got to look at the basket to make people check. You got to be an offensive threat. He's a good scorer. 2 for 3 the first half.
He's been silent since the first quarter, however. He had 6 points in the quarter and hasn't done anything since.
But you see what happens. If he catches the ball on the baseline and gets the ball in what I call the ready position and fakes the shot, then the defense has to come out and check him. If he's no offensive threat, they will totally ignore him.
He's back in for the Bulldogs. He'll try to set up for the 3.
And that time he got his feet set and didn't rush it. Just caught it and his feet were set, got a nice base, got up through into the shot.
Set the screen up well for him that time, too. 6 for Keys. Tharp. Stewart. Good job by Hendrickson. Tapped that one to keep it alive and then lost it on the baseline.
You know, a word that a lot of people don't use enough is adjust in the game of basketball. And a lot of coaches say you don't have to work on adjusting the games. But you see, they set up, they moved the ball really well on the skip pass across, and they set that up. I'm sure they adjusted Mount Vernon as well as Battleground did at halftime. You see Tharp go up strong. See, he's strong enough to knock the defensive away and go up and shoot the ball. Did a nice job of squaring up.
Did it against Wahlberg, who's fallen back a couple times. It didn't help him that time.
Well, and Wahlberg's lack of strength really hurts him, too. What I was going to say is, I've heard a lot of coaches say, well, hey, we practice during the week, and so we're ready to play the game. You still have to be able to adjust to what the other team's doing during the game.
Steve Warner with the steal. Mount Vernon bench wanted over and back called. Behrens got intimidated a little bit by Wahlberg. Good grab underneath, and Warner will draw the foul.
And right now, Battleground's taking the battle, if you will, a little pun there, to Mount Vernon. They're being much more aggressive on the ball. As you see, the ball shot came off of Hendrickson's hands right there. And there's the foul right there in the arm. And there again, if he had just gone back, if you're the defensive man, once the contact is made, you've got to be somewhat of an actor. You've got to give it the old, and go back a little with the hand.
Hendrickson's 3rd foul. Warner will go to the line. Battleground had 8 offensive rebounds in the first half, Dave, and they're picking that up again.
Well, Mount Vernon's got to do a better job, and I think a lot of it has to do with their zone defense of rebounding.
first miss at the line for Warner tonight, and we're tied at 32. 4:45 to play here in the third quarter. If you're joining us late, Mount Vernon led by 3 at the end of one and led by 2 at halftime. Now, if you're Battleground, this is where you love to see Wahlberg and Hendrickson around the perimeter right now.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what Mount Vernon is trying to get accomplished here.
Wahlberg, offensive foul, his third personal.
And there again, a great job of Battleground of giving their body up. The offside man coming and taking the charge right here. Here's the problem right here. You see Wahlberg, that's what I call a one-footed takeoff. When you get around your initial man, you've got to come to a two-footed stop. I recommend a jump stop because you're less likely to travel. But a two-footed stop and go straight up with the shot, or you're going to charge, and that's exactly what happened.
12th turnover now for Mount Vernon. 4 of them in this quarter. Dewan Miller back in for the Tigers. Stewart left alone, gets his own rebound. Wahlberg finally solved the left-hand move. Keys, good pressure by Miller.
Keith did a great job of taking the ball all the way to the basket because nobody made him pick the ball up. But you got to complete the play, too.
Stigman in the trees really caused him to alter the shot, and Dewan Miller picks up his third foul.
And I really think that Mount Vernon has got to answer the battle cry right now because, in my opinion, Battleground has really taken their game away because of their aggressiveness.
You see Mac Frazier hollering at his Bulldogs, which blew on the Battleground bench. He'll make a substitution. Warner will come back in at the next break. 2 team fouls this quarter for both teams. Cornelius, Hendrickson with the rebound. I thought Tharp a little passive there.
Well, I don't think he wanted to draw the foul, but I'll tell you what, I like the fact that Cornelius stepped up and took the shot that time. He needs to do more of that, and it allowed Hendrickson to get to the offensive glass.
He's been real silent. We head down to the 3-minute mark in this third quarter. 2-point lead for Mount Vernon. There's a slide there along the baseline. Tharp.
Tharp at least is looking at the basket.
He's 1-on-3, so he'll pull up wisely.
Good defensive transition, as it has been all night by Battleground.
Hendrickson left that one short, and after the shot, it looks as though they're going to make the call.
Well, from my angle, I couldn't see, but I know when Mark Hendrickson went up with a strong move with the right hand, and he couldn't, as you see right here, he couldn't get his arm up. Well, I really don't know what happened.
They're calling it off.
I think they're calling it on Tharp.
It's on Tharp, but the whistle was blown well after the shot. I thought it was on the rebound, but they're going to put Hendrickson to the line.
All it looked like to me, of course, you know, instant replay makes you an expert, but it just looks like he doesn't get the ball up. And I'm not sure that there was any contact, at least from that point of view. Hendrickson's activeness is starting to pay off for him in the post against Tharp. He's just so much quicker. But I like Tharp too. He's a prospect.
He has 11 in the game now. Tharp on the bench with 3 fouls. Fromm is in for him. Fromm also has 3. But with Tharp out, they lose a lot of offense. Hendrickson with a nice rebound on Warner's miss. Keys. Nice. The lead to 6.
Great hang time for a sophomore.
Butch Blue up off the Battleground bench, waiting for his team to bring it into forecourt, and they're going to call a timeout.
And a smart play. Smart call by Butch Blue.
2:06 to play, third quarter. Mount Vernon leads Battleground 38-32.
This winter, come in out of the cold and catch some of our heat. Friday, March 15th, live at 7:30. When the Victoria Cougars and the Seattle Thunderbirds get together, you can be sure it won't be tea time.
Cineplex Odeon Theaters, TCI Cablevision, Tacoma, Prime Sports Northwest, and KISW, Seattle's Best Rock, invite you to the Sports Movie Marathon, all at the new Cineplex Odeon Tacoma Central Cinemas on Thursday, March 14th. See 6 classic sports movies, and you could even win a free ski pass to Crystal Mountain or Prime Sports Northwest Sportswear. Best of all, it's free. For tickets, drop by the TCI Tacoma office, listen to KISW, or visit the new Cineplex Odeon Tacoma Central Cinemas, the 1991 Sports Movie Marathon. Do it!
Here you see the shot at the other end. Too hard. There's Hendrickson getting the rebound, and the first thing he does, like any good rebounder, is put the ball down the floor, look down the floor, and a nice job right there by Ryan Keys to protect the basketball, let the defense go by, slide up for the shot.
Shooting this quarter, Battleground 3 of 11, 28%. Mount Vernon 4 of 9, 44%. For the game, Mount Vernon's at 37, Battleground 32%. Juwan Miller with a bad entry pass that time. Garcia keeping his feet.
But Wahlberg's starting to do a much better job on the defensive end of the floor, but I think that's because Tharp is out of there.
Well, he knows that he's able to overplay a little bit more. There's not an offensive challenge in there for him. Minute and a half to play, third quarter. Mount Vernon scoring the last 6 points in a row.
Now Battleground's gone back to man-to-man, and I think, you know, they feel that you can't sit back in the zone. You know, this is a state championship. You got to do what you got to do to get out there and put pressure on people.
This could be the streak you were talking about, Dave. Good follow right there, and Fromm unable to stop Bill Cornelius. His first points since the first quarter, and the lead is 8.
I'm sorry, Todd. I'm sure they wanted the Battleground bench wanted a charge, but I'll tell you one thing. Cornelius has to, as I said earlier, assert himself, and it was a good job.
Fromm misses the lay-in. Bill go to the line for 2, and a good penetration by Josh Behrens.
Yeah, Behrens did another nice job. He handles the ball well. He's a very nice player. Here you see, well, he avoids the charge apparently because it wasn't called, but what he did is he went back. He had a presence of mind. A lot of guys in that situation don't have the presence of mind to go get the ball off the offensive glass.
The foul at this end was on Keys, his second personal. Fromm now with 5 points. Stops the brief run for Mount Vernon.
Well, I guarantee you, this baby's going to go down to the wire. This isn't going to be any 10, 12-point blowout here.
Be interesting to see what happens, though, and how long Tharp will stay on the bench with 3.
And now here comes Mount Vernon, just like they have the other times. They're under a minute to play in the quarter. Now they're going to look for an easy one, try to get an uncontested backdoor layup. If you don't have it, then we're going to run the clock down.
Near walk, and the turnover instead as Behrens overplays.
Yeah, did a nice job. There was one-handed pass by Keys.
Garcia gets a hand on it and comes up with the ball. Tried to leave it a little bit fancy there for Hendrickson. And off Hendrickson's hands.
See, there again, he saw Hendrickson coming, but he gave it up a little too early. What he should have done is pulled the ball back out. They have possession. They had a chance, again, to have the last shot of the quarter. Now, if Battleground is smart, in my opinion, they'll go ahead and play for the last quarter. You see Scott Tharp coming in the ball game. They're going to go for 1, try to get back within 5 or
There's
4.
Chad Wires in for Mount Vernon. Tharp and Trevor Rose both in for Battleground. 18 seconds showing on the clock. They're not going to hold it for 1 at all. Stigman can't get it to roll. 11 on the clock as Wohlberg tries to find someone. Now Garcia with 8. Takes a look back at the clock. They still haven't noticed. Somebody's going to have to shoot it in a hurry, and they won't get a shot off, I don't think. The Mount Vernon bench a little bit frustrated, but that's about the only thing they really have to be disappointed about. After a very good third quarter, sees them stretch their lead out to 7. 1 quarter to play. Mount Vernon leads by 7. Back with the final 8 minutes, or perhaps the final 8 minutes when we return. 5 for 11 in the third quarter. Battleground just 3 of 12, and the Bulldogs stretch it out to 7.
It'll be interesting. I still say it's going to go down to the wire. Battleground's got all their people in there. Both teams with 3 team fouls. Whoever gets to that bonus first, it could be a big difference.
You saw the numbers for the game now, 38 and 32. Tharp stays in for the Tigers. Behrens Tough one in traffic, and the rebound to Wires, weak side.
Yeah, and a big rebound by Wires because he's not real big and he sealed off the weak side. But again, Wahlberg doing a better job of making him take a bad shot, shoot the ball over him. He asserted himself the last half of the last quarter. And here's exactly what I'm talking about. You're up 7, you have the ball with a chance to go to 9. You take the shot you want, not the shot the defense wants you to take, because there is no shot clock in high school.
Yeah, you take all the time you want.
If they went the whole rest of the game and neither team scored, Mount Vernon's still going to win the ball game. That's the bottom line, is winning the ball game.
Wahlberg, the assist to Cornelius, and the foul. First points for Wahlberg since the opening quarter.
But great first step quickness by Cornelius caused that basket. As he took the ball to the baseline. You see right here, it's going to be reversed to him right here. First step, boom, one dribble, drew the defense, avoided the charge, and just dished the ball off for the easy one. Wahlberg tried to run over and give him a big hug.
He just had too much speed for him, his defender, too. Foul goes against Warner, his third. Warner goes out. DeJuan Miller, Trevor Rose back in.
Excuse me, Todd. The thing that's impressive about that, though, is he avoided the charge.
Miller for 3. Got the roll.
There's a competitor, and he's been awful quiet tonight. I think that's his first points, isn't it?
Right. A little bit more pressure from Battleground, which they're going to have to do. The jump switch as well. But Fromm's going to have to come out on Wahlberg, or there's a safety valve every time.
Well, right now, see, there's a big key right there, is the fact that Henriksen can pop out and play on the perimeter and handle the ball against someone who's a little bigger but not as quick. As he drains the 3, which would give me a heart attack if I was the coach, but I know the kid can shoot the ball.
I think that's the most confident shot he's taken all night, though.
It really is.
Fromm tries to counter. Henriksen with his 10th rebound of the ball game. And a chance to stretch the lead to double digits now for the Bulldogs.
And the bench jumps up and says, let's run play number 3. I don't know if that means we're going to shoot a 3-pointer or what. But the nice thing about Henriksen is when he steps to the perimeter, he's got Tharp, who's bigger and not as active, checking him. Now that he hit a 3, he can fake the shot and put the ball on the floor. And we may see it right here.
And what the 3 play is their spread attack that they've used at the end of each quarter. So they're going to put it in a semi-stall now and look for the good shot. That not necessarily was a good one, but Henriksen got it to drop. 16 for Henriksen. The lead is 11. Butch Blue's going to call time. 5:12 left to play in the fourth quarter. Battleground on a 7-3 spurt to open this fourth quarter. They've stretched the lead out to 11, 47-36.
Red offense, and here you see just in the corner of the screen there on the right, there's Mark Henriksen. He says, okay, you're going to play as a hands down. I'll shoot the ball in your face. That was a big, big shot. And here you see the dish from Garcia right here. Great hands. He goes up in a crowd and scores the basket.
Good roll by Henriksen to get open there as well.
Garcia does a great job of getting the ball to people, though, when they can score and where they can score.
Mount Vernon now up to 44% shooting for the ball game, 14 out of 32. Tharp tries to counter. And right now, this is a dangerous time because nothing's dropping from Battleground.
And who's gotten about every rebound is Henriksen every time the ball is shot.
Rose with it. Now there should be a tee for a rim grab there on Wahlberg. They're not going to call it.
And you want to know why they didn't call it? It's because the ball didn't have a chance to go in. If the ball had a chance to go in, he just kind of threw it up there, then I'm sure they would have called it. But the ball hit up real high on the square. As you saw the steal right there. See, there's the ball's up real high. And I think that's, in my opinion, that's why the official didn't call it.
Trevor Rose will go to the line. The foul against Garcia is his second.
The thing that you can't do and get complacent is get complacent right now. If you're Mount Vernon, to get a little careless with the basketball. Each team now 14 fouls.
Mount Vernon, by the way, now shooting 57% for the second half. That's made a real difference.
You know, when you put the brown thing in the round thing, it helps.
Fromm with the follow, gets the basket, and draws the foul. That's going to bring Mac Frazier off the bench. He wants a timeout right now, and he will get it. The foul was against Wahlberg. That's his 4th personal.
That's another one of those big turnarounds on the offensive board. Getting the ball, putting it back up on the board, and drawing the foul. And you score with hardly any time gone off on the clock, as you see right there. See, Mark Hendrickson didn't cut anybody. He just jumped for the ball. You know, one thing that I'm a big believer in is when you're on the free throw line and your opponent is shooting the ball, is you should have all 5 guys in the line. And let me tell you why. The first 2 guys step in and cut the man who's in the 2nd position. Then the third position out, they also pinch. The 5th man, his responsibility is to cut the shooter. When your 5th man's wandering out there on the floor, he's not doing his job. But I don't think very many people teach that technique. And I've seen more games lost in crucial situations or allowed people to climb back in, just as you saw right there, because they didn't do their job in the free throw lane.
And Hendrickson went up for the rebound and took an extra hop on the rim, which allowed Fromm to grab it.
But if you cut your man out, it doesn't matter.
It's a moot point.
That's
exactly. Right. 3 timeouts left for Mount Vernon, 2 for Battleground. Fromm will try to cut it to 7 with a little over 4.5 minutes to play in the quarter.
And that's 4 personal fouls on Matt Wahlberg. That could be a big foul.
He stays in the game right now, however. Hendrickson, great ball handling right there in the floor. Had the little guys flying at him. He had good speed in the court, too.
He's an athlete. I mean, you know, when you're 5'11 and a half like me and you look at him, you get angry because you like to be slender and be able to move.
And Young again. Garcia down, looks like he twisted his ankle. And the officials will take a timeout.
And a smart timeout there by the official, Bobby Rose, because there was no advantage by either team. And he saw Garcia go down. And Garcia he says, Coach, I got to stay in the ball game. So he's a tough little nut.
Now that they've taken the break, he's got to come out, of course. And Troy Holmes will check in for him. You see Dave Garcia, 7 points tonight.
That could be a big, big play with 4:07 to go, because who's going to handle the ball against the pressure?
Hendrickson, one-on-one.
Good. He's probably the guy to do it. He's a lot like, in that regard, like when Detlef Schrempf was in college.
Yeah.
Get it, clear the guards out, get him the ball.
And there's Wahlberg, who hasn't had any pressure on him. Hendrickson right around Tharp, gets fouled on the backside by Miller, and he'll have a chance to score his 20th point or make it his 19th point.
And that was a big-time play, because I was watching Trevor Rose, who's sitting over there in defensive position. You see Trevor Rose there, but he doesn't get to the baseline to help, and here comes DeJuan Miller over to help. But see, nobody gave their body up. If Trevor Rose had gone in support and putting his foot on the baseline, he probably would have drawn a charge.
And that's his responsibility, that weak
Exactly.
side, and didn't do it. 19 now for Hendrickson. He's made 5 out of his last 6 field goal attempts after not scoring a field goal the entire first half.
And that pushes the lead back up to 10. That's a big, big play.
Foul on Keys as he tried to strip it away from Tharp. Miller's foul at the other end a minute ago, by the way, was his 4th.
And the thing there about Keys, he goes back, and the reason they call that is he hacked down on the ball. You've got to go back and attack the ball with 2 hands. Here's another situation on the free throw line where I think, if you'll notice, if you see Mark Hendrickson's number, is that they've only got 4 people. I think Cornelius should move down to pinch 34, and that Keys, who's at the top of the key now, just out of our picture, should move down there to cut the shooter.
Of course, Battleground's got 2 guys behind him, so it's not as though they're charging. Tharp with 12, but he has only 4 points here in the second half. That's been a big difference.
Yeah, that guy right there has been a big difference, too. At number 30 in the white.
3.5 minutes to go in the 4th quarter.
And that was a nice job by Wahlberg. He didn't have anybody open, but he waited until Holmes came to get the ball from him.
There's a steal for Behrens, and you talked about the ball handling. Mac Frazier up off the bench. Let's see if he's going to call another timeout right now or not. 9 for Behrens, the lead down to 6. 14th turnover for Mount Vernon. Holmes looking for some help. And the reach foul is going to go against Behrens. He thought he'd established position and drawn the charge, but instead Behrens picks up his second foul.
Well, what happened, too, is Holmes got caught in a position where he picked the ball up, and you got to come to help the man when he picks his dribble up. Here you see the last steal. There's Behrens. He just steps through. Keys, quit coming to the basketball. What you've got to do, I see this happen all the time, doesn't matter what level of basketball. When a man gets double teamed or picks his dribble up, you must come to him on the angle. If you run out the floor, then you have no angle.
Battleground calls for a timeout. 3:01 fourth quarter. The Bulldogs lead by 6. Get back into this one. There's plenty of time. They trail by 6, however, and Mount Vernon's starting to click a little bit.
Yeah, they've really kind of put it in gear, but I tell you, I think they need to get Dave Garcia back in the game, and Mac Fraser's making me look good because he's putting him in, but he's limping heavily on that ankle, and so it'll be important to see what happens. He's coming in for the shooter.
Holmes will be at the line. He's 2 for 2 tonight. Both teams in the bonus here. Battleground with 1 timeout left. Mount Vernon with 3. Nobody blocked out there at all, Dave. And a foul against Behrens.
And that almost looked like an intentional foul. Went out and grabbed him right there. And there again, you know, you can't put time back on the clock, but now they got a chance to score with no time gone or very little time gone. Here you see the ball come out long. Nobody really cuts out Cornelius. And you see the foul just right there in the right-hand corner of the picture.
Cornelius has hit both his free throws tonight. He has 9 points.
I think that Bill Cornelius has a chance to be a college prospect. He's only a junior, as most of the people on the club are. But I think he's got to be a little more assertive. I think with strength, again, just like Hendrickson over the summer, playing a lot of basketball, he'll get there.
8-point lead for the Bulldogs. That one knocked out of bounds by Cornelius, but Miller is not being real subtle with his entry pass. They're allowing Wahlberg to step in.
No. And you know what's amazing? As you said this at the top of the show, Mount Vernon's here. They lost 3 times this year, coming in all to Seaholm.
Seaholm losing in the semifinals to Battleground.
And so it's a moot point.
Behrens, difficult shot with Wahlberg in his face, and Wahlberg pulls down the rebound.
Wahlberg being much more aggressive. And you know, I don't think, from my perspective, I'm not right out there that was a foul, but anytime you reach from behind, they're going to call this foul on the high school level. See right there, he pokes the ball. But the official's right there. When you reach, they're going to call it.
It's the 4th foul against Behrens, however. Trevor Rose will have to come back in.
They need Behrens in the ball game for 2 reasons. Defensive pressure and outside 3-point threat.
Rose will come in for Fromm. Behrens has not been able to hit a lot tonight. Just 9 points in the contest. He averages over 17 a game. And Garcia, 2 for 2 at the line in this contest. Still an 8-point lead inside of 2.5 minutes.
And that was a big miss.
If the Tigers can hit some shots. Rose. Keys with the reach, took it away from Tharp.
That time Scott Tharp put the ball outside the confines of the body, and he was picked. And you hear Mac Fraser yelling, "Go to the ball."
Well, somebody had to be open when Hendrickson was double teamed that time. He was telling his guards go to the ball. Rose tried to claim that one off Keys.
Yeah, in that situation right there, if Keys had gotten the ball, Mark Hendrickson had Tharp pinned at the high post, he could have rolled right down the lane wide open for the basket.
Now they're taking Tharp out. And a timeout being called by Battleground, so they'll use their last timeout of the game here at the 1:44 mark. 52-44 Mount Vernon our score. And again, if you are joining us late, the girls AA championship game going to Battleground over Clarkston by a score of 52-46.
I'm trying to do a little detective work here as we look in the huddle. I'm trying to listen to what Mac Frazier is saying, and the young lady is blocking my view.
Well, you listen, and I'll do a little fill.
But what I was going to say is the fact that, he's telling them, hey, when we run there, we're going to the spread now, you've got to come to the basketball. What I think Butch Blue is telling his team right now is we took Sharp out, we're going to go to a smaller, quicker lineup. We can't put time back on the clock, so we've got to do some things to disrupt them, pick up full court probably all the time, or especially after a score. But you can't worry about how many fouls you got in this situation. If you got to foul a guy, you got to go foul a guy, but you can't, one thing you can't do is give him an easy basket and then foul him and give him an extra point.
The Battleground won't be able to stop the clock except by fouling. And now Tharp comes back in. Mount Vernon's not even lined up the way they wanted him to, but it doesn't matter. Hendrickson steps right out and gets the ball.
Yeah, and I don't know how they can do it. See, the one thing, they've always got Hendrickson as a pressure release because he's got a bigger, slower man on him. And I'm not saying Tharp is slow, but I mean, he's not as quick as Hendrickson.
The Tigers are going to have to do something because they're down 8. Hendrickson, did he walk on the way? No, they'll call the foul. Because time is not on their side and they're already down 8, they're going to have to foul.
Yeah. Here you see him put the ball on the floor right now. Go to the basket. He really does a nice job here. In a state championship game, especially, kind of a ticky-tack foul because DeJuan Miller went over and he was going to help, and he saw that he wasn't there in time, so he pulled back.
5th personal against DeJuan Miller. Fouls out of his last game, state championship game, with 3 points. Butch Blue taking some time before making his substitution. Steve Warner will come in for DeJuan Miller.
We're sitting right in front of the Mount Vernon rooting section. They started to give the old hey goodbye with DeJuan Miller fouled out, and Mac Frazier turned around and told him to knock it off. He was very upset.
It's been kind of interesting, WIAA really promoting sportsmanship and handing out awards for it, and I think that's changed the crowds a little bit at high school.
Well,
games.
I really believe, I'm as competitive as the next guy, and you want to be competitive, but you want to do it in an ethical, sportsmanlike manner. You don't want to win games and do things that are going to gain an advantage. Great job by Dave Garcia right there, and I'll tell you what happened is Stigman got the outlet pass. Wait a minute here.
Now they're calling the foul on Stigman.
But what I was going to say is Stigman got the outlet pass right there and didn't look down the floor right away. You know what an outlet pass is? The first thing you use, you tell a young man, catch, turn, and look. Doesn't mean catch, turn, and pass. It doesn't mean catch, turn, and dribble. Catch, turn, and look. And when you do that, you're going to avoid those kind of situations.
Keys gets fouled by Stigman. That's his 4th. I think we're about to see the free throw line parade here.
And I wouldn't be surprised if you see Mount Vernon to extend their lead a little to have Mac Frazier pull some of his people back off the free throw line. As you see, Wahlberg and Garcia are clear back down the other end of the floor.
Well, now they say that's Stigman's 5th, so that's what they've got on the board, and Butch Blue will have to go to the bench again.
And he doesn't have a timeout, so he's got to get somebody in there quickly.
Greg Saylor will see his first action tonight, a 6'1 senior. Averages a point and a half a game for the Tigers. I also get the feeling, though, Dave, that if Mount Vernon hits a couple of these one-on-ones, that Butch Blue will just kind of call off the dogs and realize that the fouling's not going to do him much good either.
Yeah, I've often wondered, particularly in the college level, why people call timeout when they're down 15, with 20 seconds to go, unless they've got a 15-point play. And the thing that always bothered me, I call that peacocking. They want to let everybody know that they're in charge. Heck, it's the kids' games. Let the kids play the game.
Now Mount Vernon should just play the old umbrella, 5 around the perimeter. Barron's lost the handle on that one. And 1 minute to go in the 4th quarter. Barron's with the steal, but his team down 10 with less than a minute to play. Nice drive by Josh Barron's. 11 in the game now.
Great job because he avoided the charge. Mac Frazier says, pull it out. See, they don't have to score. They don't have to score to win the ball game.
Hendrickson will go to the line again. He's been there 12 times. foul's going to go against Tharp.
You know, and Mac Frazier's got Hendrickson over and he's talking to him, and he knows that he's a good free throw shooter, but the thing you don't want to do is you don't want to hold the basketball, because when you hold the ball, you're inviting a foul. You want to keep the clock moving.
Hendrickson 9 for 12 at the line tonight, 20 points. The Mount Vernon bench begins to celebrate just a little bit with 47 seconds showing on the clock and a chance to stretch it to 10. 22 for Hendrickson, right in line with his average for the tournament. Tharp left alone, cans it.
Nice looking shot by Scott Tharp. He's got a very good future.
Well, he really regathered himself, too, instead of rushing it. And a foul in the back court with 35 seconds left.
Here you see Battleground pushing the ball up the floor right here. Here's Rose. Here comes Tharp as a trailer. He fakes his shot. Nobody checks him. Gets his feet set. Goes right up. Knocks it down.
Trevor Rose called for the foul, and Garcia will go to the line.
And there you see it from a different angle. And Garcia missed front end of 2 1-on-1.
This can cut it to 4. Barons with 14. 24 seconds left, and Keys is fouled. And again, like you said, you don't have time to decide who you want to foul.
No, you don't. You don't. You can't put time back on. Let me tell you something. It's amazing how good a coach you are when your players go to the line and make free throws. And I'll give you an example. One time when I was coaching in junior college, the second half, my team, we were playing a much bigger team. We spread the floor, said we're going to take you out of the zone, and we went 22 for 22 from the free throw line. But if my guys don't shoot the ball, I don't look very smart.
You're not a genius.
No.
Yeah. Keys was 1 for 2 last time down.
And that's the odd number, and that helps. But, you know, 2 3-pointers can put you right back in this thing.
You'd think the Bulldogs would step out a little bit more this time down. We'll see if they do. It's a 6-point game.
And then you got to make him pick the ball up and pass it to somebody else, because he's going to shoot it.
Rose with 18.
Don't let Barron shoot the ball.
They'll give him that one, but they lose it along the baseline, and now the foul in the back court will go against Saylor.
Yeah, with 12 seconds to go, you would think it's pretty safe, but you never know. You still got 12 seconds to go. Mac Frazier just told his guys it's not over yet, and the guys on the bench, the player said, yeah, it is, Coach. He says, no, it's not. And I said, I can identify with that.
Yeah, you see Mac will be directing right until the final buzzer, I think.
And he's got everybody off the line now. And there again, the coaching staff telling the student body, hey, don't give us any of that nah, hey, goodbye stuff.
Well, they're trying to sweep the sportsmanship award as well, I think, maybe.
I don't care. We don't care if you go out.
Hendrickson will be going for his 24th.
I don't know if you could ask for 2 better played games as we've had this evening, both the boys and the girls.
10 seconds to go. You can hear them count it down.
And Butch Blue, with a lot of class, came down to Mac Frazier and said, look at him right there, because I know how you feel.
Before the buzzer, these two guys, last year we should talk about for a minute, because last year when Mike Brotherton was close to setting the single game scoring record, Butch Blue sent somebody down and said, hey, can we put him back in the game? As it turned out, Brotherton fouled out. But the two have had a pretty good relationship, and maybe for the best, each one of them now has one for the trophy case after this 2-year battle.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, Mount Vernon may add one next year. That may be a little premature, but I'll tell you what, they've got a great opportunity to come back as long as everybody stays healthy. You know, I had the opportunity to be at Michigan State, and we won the whole thing with Magic Johnson, and I know exactly what these kids and coaches are going through, and this is a great experience for them.
59-52, the Mount Vernon Bulldogs take home the boys state AA championship. We'll be back to wrap things up from the Dome right after this timeout.
Le mouton
52, Mount Vernon with the victory over Battleground. Couple real keys in the second half of the game. Mount Vernon shooting 60% from the floor, 9 of 15. And free throws the overall difference. 24 out of 36 for Mount Vernon, 12-18 for Battleground.
Yeah, Mount Vernon really did a job. We said it's going to be a spurt, you know, much deserving of the championship. But it was a great game, you know. It was a game that even though in the second half they took charge, I never really felt that they were running away with anything. You know, Battleground is too good, too well coached, too fundamentally sound to be beaten badly. And, you know, the score indicates that.
Good night for Mark Hendrickson, 23 points, 12 rebounds to lead Mount Vernon. Meanwhile, Scott Tharp with 15 points to lead Battleground. So the two schools kind of splitting their two-year rivalry, and really two good games tonight.
Excellent ball games. Thoroughly enjoyed doing both the girls and the boys games tonight, and look for great things again next year.
And our special thanks also to Don Miucci for a great job with stats for both of these championship games. So that'll wrap things up from the Tacoma Dome for the 1991 Boys and Girls Championships. The girls contest goes to the Battleground Tigers, 52-46, but they can't pull off the sweep tonight as Mount Vernon avenges last year's loss, beating Battleground by a score of 59-52. For Dave Harshman and our entire crew here at the Tacoma Dome, I'm Todd Pickett. Thanks for joining us again on Prime Sports Northwest. Till next time, so long, everybody.
Ten.